Hi, my name is Emily Reefstag, and today I am filming a documentary on teens in the workplace. I'm currently enrolled in a teens and team development class at Illinois State University, and for my honors contract, I wanted to see how the ideas we learned in class compared to teams in the workplace. So today I am going to be interviewing some people that work with me at Health Alliance in the Quality Management Department on the HEDIS team. The HEDIS team works in electronic medical records to see if patients are compliant with things like BMI checks, colonoscopies, mammograms, things like that. Today I'm going to be interviewing one of my coworkers, Sandy, to see what her ideas are about the team and how it compares to the concepts we learned in class. And in another segment, I'm going to be interviewing another coworker. His name is Alex, who's a newer addition to the team. He's been here for almost 3 years. In the last segment, I'll be interviewing the manager of the team, Patty, to see how her perceptions of the team are different as the leader versus just a regular team member. You can stay tuned for small segments of me giving definitions of things from the class and explaining some concepts. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Miss Emily.
Thank you for being part of my documentary.
I'm happy to.
I would like you to just kind of give some background on what you do with the HEDIS team.
The HEDIS team. Okay, I am a HEDIS coordinator. I help Patty coordinate who is going to be going out into each area and assigning the charts to the different members of the team.
Okay, how long have you been on the team for?
5 years.
Okay. Do you consider the HEDIS team a team?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Okay. Do you think that working in a team setting is efficient for this kind of work?
It definitely is, because with this team, we have different people who have different specialties and different talents. For example, we have some members of our team that are RNs, so if we have a clinical question, we can go to them versus, having to try to figure it out ourselves. So that's very helpful.
So there's lots of benefits, you would say.
Definitely.
Okay. You have some team members that are on site and some that are virtual. Does this pose any challenges for the team?
It can be. It can be a challenge. It definitely has its benefits as well, but some of the challenges are everybody getting together to communicate, but we get around that by we do a lot of email and do email communications. And this year we're actually doing a weekly huddle so that we all meet once a week to kind of see what's going on with each other, bring back any ideas we might have to one another. So that's worked out really well.
That's a good idea. Okay, one of the terms we learned in class is cohesion, which is the emotional attraction between team members that makes you want to work together again. Would you say that this team has cohesion?
Yes, yes.
That's good.
We're lucky. We've got a pretty good team out there.
Okay, and the next term that we learned in class is identity fusion. So this is when your part of the team kind of becomes a part of your identity. A lot of people would compare it to like a sorority or fraternity, as part of their identity. So would you say this, even though it's your work team, is part of your identity?
I would say that it is to a certain extent, but because I'm older in my career, I have separated more than I did in my younger days. So it is part of my work identity. I definitely, but because I'm older, I'm able, I think, a little bit more to separate my work identity versus my home life identity, to kind of separate them.
Okay, well, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. One of the ideas we learned in class is about interdependence in a team. Interdependence is how much a team works together, and there's 3 main types. There's pooled, where each individual member works separately and they pool their work together. Sequential, where after one person finishes their work, it moves to the next person. And reciprocal, where everyone's working together throughout the whole process, and that is the one that ideally teams would use. The HEDIS team uses all 3 forms of teamwork interdependence. They use pooled, I would say, majority of the time, because they each are assigned different measures to look in electronic records, and then when they're done, they pull them all together for the HEDIS audit. They also use sequential interdependence because one person might start a process and start working on a measure, and then they send it off to the next person to work on the next section of a measure. So if there's one that needs an eye exam, a medical records check, and a discharge date, they might have one person only look for the eye exams and then send it off to the next person to look for the medical record check. And they also use reciprocal interdependence quite often. Mainly, I would say this is used by the people that are on site. I've experienced this when I have a question on a topic or a question with a measure that I'm looking at. I'll show it to another member of my team and they can answer my question. Sometimes I answer their questions, a lot of tech questions that they might need help on. And it's just a good way to work together as a team and get to know each other better.
Good morning.
Thanks for being part of my little documentary.
Sure.
So can you introduce yourself and how long you've been on the team?
Sure. My name is Patty Kiefer. I've been with Health Alliance a total of 20 years, and I've been on the team since 2011, so 8 years doing HEDIS.
Okay. And I know that your title is pretty much manager of the team, but would you consider yourself a leader of the team?
It depends. Different circumstances, I think different degrees of relationship building. I don't have as close a relationship with everyone, so I think that can factor into whether they see me as it. And myself, I see ways I can be a more effective leader sometimes, so yes.
Well,
I
that's
think
good.
sometimes.
At least you know that there's room for growth.
Yes, yes.
What responsibilities come with your role as the manager?
Okay, so I wrote some things down. I coordinate the chart review seasons that we have, so that's taking our employees and allocating the work out to make sure our HEDIS season, is successful. I oversee the training and the training documents. We have a healthcare organization questionnaire that needs filled out. I have to do that, and that's various aspects of the organization. That's not the roadmap that our coordinator works on. I have a piece of that, and then at the end of the process, I also responsible for the medical record review validation report, which is organizing all of our chases that they pick and just getting that going, and do it within the time limits presented to me.
Okay. How many people are on this team currently?
I supervise 10 right now.
And those are on-site and...
On-site and off-site. So most of them are off-site. I think there's 4 people right now, or actually 5 people that are on-site.
Okay. Do you think that this teamwork is efficient in this setting?
I do, because we have staff that go out into the provider offices, so sometimes it's good to have that flexibility where they can just get up and go and not have to drive into work, depending on that. I think there's some disadvantages. I think communication sometimes can struggle there more, but I think that it works because we travel. Our business is traveling to different places. So.
Do you think that every member in your team has a clear role that aids in a unified goal?
Well, I think everyone should know what our goal is, because we have a staff that really is experienced, and there's staff members that have been doing HEDIS longer than I have, and our ultimate goal this year, and it changes and varies, but is stars. They want us to reach 5 stars, so, and that's communicated even higher than our department. Like that's an organizational goal. So
yeah. And it's reinforced off.
Correct. Yes.
In your opinion, as a manager, what is one necessity to have for an efficient, well-rounded team?
I absolutely think diversity is important, meaning that you don't have the same type of people with the same talents doing the same job, because one person can complement another, meaning, for example, we have nurses on our staff. We have certain staff members that have they're more technologically savvy, and then where there are others that aren't, and they can cross over and help each other out. Some people like to travel, some people don't. So it's good to have a variety of different types of people.
Yeah, that's one of the things we
Mhm.
talk about in class, how diversity can increase creativity
Mhm.
and help a team progress a lot faster.
Right, because I think you may have a great idea, and as a leader, I do think that you should look at your staff who's doing the job to make things more efficient
Mhm.
and things like that versus mine, because I'm not out there a lot compared to them. So anyway,
Hey, thank you. for
you're
answering my
welcome.
question. One of the things we learned in class is how to measure a team's effectiveness. So we have 4 measures: productivity based on the end user, cohesion, how well they work together and if they are willing to work together again, learning, if there's room for learning and growth in the team, and integration, how well they understand and are working towards organizational goals. So for the HEDIS team at Health Alliance, I would say they meet all 4 of these criteria. For productivity, I would say that the HEDIS team is meeting this based on their audits. They get audited once or twice a year, and if they have correct measures, all the proof that they need, then they pass it, and it's all that information is passed on to the next department. And since they have been getting positive feedback from these audits, they are meeting their goals based on the end user. For learning, I would say the HEDIS team definitely meets this. They do training, deep in-depth training once a year, and they go over all the measures and all the new updated rules and regulations, and they train people on new measures during this training. So when I joined the team, the first training I had was a little basic. I didn't learn the complicated measures. I just learned the simple ones like BMI measurements, immunizations, stuff like that. But now this year, since I've been there for 2 years, I was able to do the in-depth training and learn some of the harder multiple step measures like medical reconciliation and transition of care. For cohesion, the HEDIS team definitely meets this. They have been working together for quite some time. The newest member, other than me, has been there for 3 or 4 years, and they work really well together, even the people that are not on the site, that they work from home. And they all said that they would work together again consistently. The last one is integration, which is understanding and working towards organizational goals. The HEDIS team does this through their star ratings. So this is one of the things that Health Alliance and Carl have as their annual goals. They want to have 4 stars, and that's just basically meeting expectations, having positive audits, all that stuff. And last year they got 4 stars, and they were nominated as a great place to work. So they're definitely working towards those organizational goals and meeting them consistently. So I would say overall, the HEDIS team is definitely effective. Hi, Alex. Thanks for being part of my little documentary.
No problem.
Can you introduce yourself and what you do on the team?
My name is Alex Hitzman. I am the Health Management Services Coordinator 2. I deal with a lot of, I go to doctor's offices and I do reviews on their charts to make sure they're documenting things properly, and then I also help out with the team when we're being audited for our star ratings and our ratings overall as a health plan.
Okay. And I know that you have been on the team for like almost 3 years, almost 3?
Almost 4 years
Almost 4?
in November. In
Okay.
November it'll be 4 years.
Okay, so a newer member compared to some of the other people.
Yes.
So what was it like joining a team that was kind of already formed?
So I would say that there were like good parts about it, but there were also bad parts. I would say the bad part was like you felt like the new kid in school. Like, I mean, everybody knew each other and they knew each other for, I think the other person had been here for 4 years before I got here. So, you just kind of had to find your way into like intermingling with the rest of the people, but it also was nice because you had a lot of resources who had been doing the job for, some of them have been here doing it for like 20 plus years, so I had good information to like helped me progress in my role.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful, I think. So in class, we talk about the stages of team development. There's 5 stages. So the first is forming, where you get to know your group and you're kind of assigned together as a group. Storming, where each person kind of brings the beliefs that they had before with them and they stick to those beliefs, so it causes some conflict. Norming, where you kind of start to get your role clarified and you know what you're doing with the group. You set some goals. Performing, you're performing well, working towards your goal. And then adjourning, which the group splits up, but you guys aren't splitting up. But do you feel like you experienced all those stages when you joined the team?
Definitely the first part, because again, you're like the new kid,
Mm-hmm.
so you had to, really like come in and try and like, be as like open as you could with everybody and try and like build even just like the slightest relationship, and then you could go further from there. But I knew that coming in I'd have to basically prove it with my work
Mm-hmm.
that like I was like gonna be a good part of the team. And I don't remember the other stages that you said.
After storming is norming, like you had a more clear goal and a clear role in the team.
Oh, yes. Yeah, after probably my first year, it became very clear what my role was going to be, and it was a lot more, I was just given the assignments and was told to complete them. I wasn't like coached step by step through them, so that was kind of nice because I didn't want to have to take away from other people's time to
Mm-hmm.
keep having to like try and learn this. So it was nice to know that like I was picking up quickly and able to like be on my own.
Mm-hmm. More responsible.
Yeah.
With the people in the team, do you feel that inter-team relationships are good throughout the team? So I know that there's a lot of people that are off-site, so you might not interact with them as often, but that can be another challenge. So do you think that those relationships are solid in the team?
Yeah, so it does make it more difficult when most of the team is primarily working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So you do a lot of phone and email. So it's difficult to build a really strong personal relationship with when people just aren't in the office with you. But I would say overall, like as far as work goes, I think everybody like gets along real well, and I think that helps in the long run because everybody is willing to help everybody. So there's not ever a time where I would feel intimidated to ask any of my other team members for help.
Right. For this work, do you think that being in a team is efficient?
Yes, especially for this work. This would be way too much for
Yeah.
one person, even for just like 2 or 3 people. Like, I think a team of about our size, even if we had a couple more, would be like a real solid team. Maybe 10 people, I think, would be a good start. And I think this is definitely a job that you need everybody, all hands on deck.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody needs to help everybody because you're dealing with a lot of outside factors. So you don't know exactly what you're going to run into.
Right. How many people are on the team currently?
Let's see. There are 6 of us.
Okay. So more people to get to the 10.
Yes, yeah, I think if we were at that like 8 to 10 range, I think it would really take some off of other people's plates, and
Yeah, for
it
sure.
would make the process a lot smoother.
So for the 8 people that are on the team, would you consider it to be diverse, and in what ways?
I would say it's very diverse because, you have diversity in the age ranges.
Mhm.
I'm 28, and then I know that there's older people on the team.
Right.
So like there's diversity there, and like they might not be as like familiar with technology and stuff, so that's where I come in and I'm able to teach them a lot of shortcuts through technology that they didn't know before, and it like really helps cut back on like some of their duties or like just the time that it takes to do those things. And then I think you also have diversity in like where people all grew up. Like I grew up right outside of Chicago. I have that very like northern Illinois urban
Right.
personality, and I know a lot of other people who grew up in the southern Illinois or central Illinois, in the very small rural town. So I think it's a good like personality mix, because you're working with so many different like outside doctors' offices and stuff, that like it's good to have, it's not just like one set of
Mhm.
people that are doing it all.
So you mentioned some benefits already, but are there any challenges that the diversity brings?
I guess the only challenges that I could think of that the diversity would bring is that sometimes, like, the way that you're used to doing things just because of like where you grew up or like how you've been doing it for so long, it's like sometimes it can be difficult to like take a step back and like be like, okay, this is how they're used to doing it, so now this is how I'm used to doing it, and we gotta meet somewhere in the middle there.
Right. Kind of have to compromise sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
All right.
Thank you. Now we have come to the end of the team's documentary. I had a lot of fun interviewing my coworkers and asking them all kinds of questions about the things we learned in class. I think overall, everything that we learned in class fit in well with real life teams. And it was interesting to see how they responded to the questions, especially about diversity. That was one of the things that came up fairly often, that they agree diversity increases creativity and discussion and really aids in a team. And luckily for the HEDIS team, it doesn't cause much conflict. I'm really glad I have gained the experience of working in a team in a real life business setting. I really enjoy it. I think that bouncing ideas off of one another, getting help when you're stuck is really important, especially in the work that the HEDIS team does. Reviewing medical records, you want to make sure you have the correct information for the audit at the end of the year. From the beginning, the HEDIS team was so welcoming. Even when I had so many questions about the policies and procedures, they never made me feel like I was a burden or anything like that. I always felt a real part of the team, even from week one. So I hope you enjoyed this documentary and learned some more about the items we talked about in class and how it applies to real life teams.